Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. We are honored and so thrilled to have Shannon Walker from Washington State joining us today. She is a powerhouse making positive change, and we can't wait to hear her story. So, Shannon, thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. I'm super excited to share what we do.
Awesome. Well, we're thrilled to have you. And let's just take a moment. We want to thank our audience for being here. We know that you're chiming in from over 48 countries, and we're super grateful that you continue to come in and listen to the Women in Leadership Talk podcast and really get to know some amazing individuals that are making wonderful change in the world. So we're thrilled to have you with us today as well. So let me give you some context as to who Shannon is and why we've invited her on the show today. So Shannon is the founder of Northwest Battle Buddies. She's been engaged in the nonprofit sector since 2012, and she's embarked on a journey to support veterans that are battling PTSD by providing them with professionally trained service dogs, which helps facilitate their path to freedom and independence. In the face of a bleak reality where 22 veterans a day, which is over 8,000 a year, commit suicide on American soil, Shannon and her team stand at the forefront of transformation, and they are able to boast a remarkable 100% success rate and no lives lost to suicide since the introduction of service dogs. Shannon stands out as a living testament to the potential for success in a pursuit of positive change. Shannon, welcome. We're thrilled to have you here and excited to hear your story and what led you down this path. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. I'm super excited.
Good. Well, let's just jump in, okay? I'd love to hear, what's driven this passion for positive change and specifically how that relates to our veterans.
So if I've accomplished a lot of things in the dog world. I've been a dog trainer for almost 30 years now, and I've trained thousands of pet dogs with bite histories, saved a lot of dog families. I've had the honor of working with police departments, helping them get their dogs ready for the street. That's such an honor. And also, I've competed in Schutzen, which is a sport like protection dog training, even internationally. And through all of my dog training experience, even though it brought a lot of value, there was nothing that impacted me like when I met a veteran who wanted his personal dog to be trained to be a service dog. And why he got my attention was because of the way I was raised. My father served during the Korean War, and he taught me to believe in God, family, and country. And when you're in the presence of a veteran, you're in the presence of a hero, even though he never considered himself one. So him being this amazing patriot, when Kevin, the first veteran that I met, came into my for-profit business looking for help, he got my attention. I stopped what I was doing and I went and immediately served him instead of having somebody else do it. And I listened to his story about why he wanted his dog to be trained to be a service dog. And so I just did what I do. I was doing business as usual, but it was through training. So I trained the dog for months prior to, because I had to get the dog ready, because that's how the process goes. You train the dog, and then I would bring Kevin in afterwards to learn how to train and navigate life with a service dog. And it was through that process that impacted me, that made me make the decisions that I made. While working with Kevin, not only did I learn about the suicide rate amongst our American heroes, but I had learned about his last firefight that he had survived with the men and women that he was serving with. And after coming home, 6 of the soldiers that he had served with had committed suicide on American soil.
Oh
I just couldn't believe it. My dad had always taught me that freedom wasn't free, but I didn't know what that meant. And I still don't. But I did realize that our veterans are still paying a price for my freedom, even though they aren't wearing the uniform anymore. And through this process with Kevin, I saw him find courage inside himself to lead his dog where he was afraid to go alone. And I saw him be willing to do for her what he wouldn't even do for himself. And in the very last training session with him, he had passed his testing, and I was watching him walk away. And I remember standing there watching him walk through the parking lot with his shoulders back, his head high. And I truly, out of everything I accomplished in the dog world, at this moment, I felt like I significantly made the difference in the quality of somebody's life.
Yeah.
And that was where it was going to end for me until veterans who knew him started to come to my business looking for help. They met Kevin. They knew Kevin before he had a service dog. And now they see him now that he has a service dog, and they wanted what he had. And so they came to me looking for dogs. Well, I didn't have dogs to give them. And then I thought, my dad always said, you don't know what you don't know. But in my simple-minded thinking, I thought, if I can just adopt dogs out of shelters and I can train them, I can gift them, and I can say thank you for my freedom. And that was 200, and after this week, 245 service dogs ago.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been a journey. It's been hard, but it's been absolutely worth it because our American heroes deserve it, and they are ending their life because they're giving up hope. And our service dogs bring hope, and that's what it's about.
Yeah. Wow, that's so powerful. And I feel your passion and the emotion that, is, so caring and serving to those who have served to make sure that we do have freedom. And I love what you're doing, Shannon, because so often, they go and serve selflessly and can't even imagine the situations they're put into, and we do have to find ways. But what I see that you're doing, or what I hear that you're doing, is you're not just championing the veterans, but you're also saving dogs and you're bringing them together to create that harmony that they need so that both can successfully thrive in the world. So that's really incredible.
Yeah. It's an amazing journey, and it's an honor to do. And I never get tired of it. It never gets old. Watching a veteran meet his service dog on day one never gets old. And watching them graduate and walk away already different, changed for the better with a new leash on life. And I'm not saying that to be funny as an acronym. I'm just saying they're walking away different, and it's just the beginning of the rest of their life, and it puts fuel on our fire for sure.
Wow, that is so awesome. And when you're championing a cause like this, so many times individuals, we get stuck, right, and sometimes can't see the forest for the trees. And so what do you think that pivotal moment was that helped you really understand your purpose and why you wanted to champion this particular cause?
Well, I didn't think about it like that. I just, my dad was a fighter, my family, we just don't quit. And we were raised to give back. We were raised to see value in the gifts that were given to us. And in this case, my freedom, our freedom. I didn't serve my country. My twin boys did, my father did, so many thousands of men and women have been so selfless and given me an incredible gift, but I didn't think about it like any of that. I just saw a need, and I saw that I could fill it. I saw that it impacted and made a difference. And it wasn't about, I didn't know how hard it would be. And that is a blessing. I didn't know the obstacles that we would have to overcome and continue to overcome on a daily basis. But at the same time, personally, if you were to say this, I answered the call. Our veterans, and I'm not going to compare what I do to our veterans serving our country, but in any person that does something outside of themselves to be a part of something bigger than what they are, to be a part of something greater, to impact lives of people that maybe you would have never met, and to do it in a selfless way, that's just the way I was raised. And I'm not saying it like a beating chest. It wasn't a thought process. I just thought, I can train dogs and I can gift them. How do I do that? Well, I'm going to get them out of shelters. Well, now I need to start a 501c3 so they're paid for. How do you do that? And it was just one step after another to become something that is what it is now. I couldn't see what it is now. I couldn't see back then. I just saw the next dog, and I just saw the next veteran.
Yeah. But the fact that you did see it, that's incredible, because you were listening, you were paying attention, and you were asking yourself, how can I serve? Right. And so often we forget that because we're all about, we do have a society that's about take, what's in it for me. And, you definitely are demonstrating the resilience, even because I can only imagine how difficult it is to do what you're doing, not just on the physical, mental, but even the emotional,
Yeah.
right? And so rewarding, but also challenging because you're going through this journey with each of these individuals. I love what you're doing. And, you know, I have another connection of mine who, um, she moved out to California, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, because her dream was always to open a bakery, right? And when
Um,
she opened her bakery, what she said was, and this ties into the veterans, she said, I want to hire veterans because it's so hard when they come back of trying to figure out what's next.
yeah.
And, you know, that is a very purposeful mission that you have and that she has in supporting our veterans. So I love that.
Absolutely.
So what do you see as, you know, the biggest thing or the biggest hurdles when you're championing a cause? Like
Wow.
what happens to people when they're championing?
Yeah, that's a loaded question in itself. Well, number one, to speak to what we do at Northwest Battle Buddies, you know, one of the biggest hurdles, honestly, is, I mean, there's so many, but one of the biggest hurdles of any nonprofit is donor dollars.
Yeah.
You know, our dogs are trained for 5 months professionally. Our veterans come from across the nation and train for 5 weeks, learning how to navigate life with our service dog. And our dogs cost us about $25,000 by the time we gift them, but they are 100% free to American heroes because they've already paid the price. And so, you know, not only just continuing day after day, year after year, having to raise money for the next dog. That is a challenge in itself, but it's also the ignorance of, ignorance is just a lack of knowledge. It is the misperception that veterans with invisible wounds of war, it's like, you look fine. What's wrong with you? Why do you need a dog? And to have that stigma, when the fact is that they are called invisible wounds for a reason. Because when you see somebody with a service dog that is maybe, you know, using it for balance or mobility or, you know, the blind or whatever it might be, but it's an obvious disability. So therefore those veterans are not challenged when they're just trying to be allowed access to go through life. But between all the fake service dogs that are out there, people who are probably very wonderful people who just want their pet with them all day, and they have their reasons. Not only are they completely making toxic, I'm at a lack of words for saying the damage that people who are taking fake service dogs out into public are doing to those who are disabled, who truly need service dogs and need to be able to just be able to live their life, go into the store and get their milk and get out without a million questions, without people wanting to pet their dogs or not being allowed access because they look like nothing's wrong with them. That is a huge obstacle, being able to educate the public. And the next obstacle, and that's one of the other hats I wear, I'm also the executive director of the Association of Service Dog Providers, and it's an elite group of service dog providers across the nation. And what we do is we try to bring value and education to all service dog providers about the quality that these dogs need to be, so they're not a hindrance to the public. They're not negative. And so it's a heavy lift in this industry, not only for our veterans who we are just trying to bring a service dog that will bring them hope so they'll live a life that's better with freedom and independence, but it's also educating the public, it's educating the donors, and it's bringing an understanding and a dignity that for our veterans, it is not a sign of weakness to need a service dog. It is a sign of survival. It is a sign that you were not willing to give up. You will not become a statistic of the 22, because there isn't a veteran that, or somebody who served, even my boys, where, you know, they were in leadership in the military, and the men and women who might have taken their life even in service, and they were having to deal with all of that. Or, you know, when we're working with our veterans and they're here for 5 weeks and they have a particularly bad date because it's an anniversary date of their best friend who took their life. So for our veterans, for them to understand, it isn't a sign of weakness to seek help, and it isn't a sign of weakness to have a service dog that is now wearing a vest that has a patch on it that says service dog. So now, instead of having an invisible wound, they are announcing, I have a disability and I need this dog. That it's a sign of courage, it's a sign of strength. This is your path of healing, because you want to be that better father, better brother, better mother, better daughter. It's like, these are our families. And
Yeah.
for them to realize that, for our veterans to realize it takes courage to take that step forward and do something you've never done and have hope for a better life, that you're not going to succumb to the statistic of the men and women they know that have. And so that's a whole hour conversation in itself. It's
Well, it is, yes. And you brought up a number of things there as you were speaking. Where my mind went to is the stereotypes, that judgment, and that education is so important because it is ignorance, right? Like
yeah,
people just sometimes you don't know, and people make assumptions. And what you just said about people doing fake service dogs so that they can actually take their dogs into a facility, like
yeah,
recognizing the damage that can be done,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because then it becomes, I'm not going to say this very eloquently, Shannon, but it
yeah,
becomes noise, right? And so
yeah.
then that compounds the issue for those who really do need to have service dogs.
Well, they're polluting the system.
Yes,
They're
thank you. That's
polluting
a
the
beautiful
system.
way to
That's the
say
word I was looking for. And not only that, so not only do our veterans have to deal with the public when they are taking a professionally trained, absolutely dialed in service dog that is not interfering with the public. So when our veterans do their due diligence, they not only have to be concerned with being blocked at the door and not allowed access because of the fake service dogs that were unruly, tried to bite a customer, tried to buy. I mean, it's like these businesses are trying to protect their businesses with the liability. But, we've had veterans that have had our service dogs attacked by other dogs in the stores that shouldn't have been there.
it. Oh,
And
wow.
how do you, so here we're telling our veterans, go live your life with freedom and independence. Go out there and do something you haven't done before. Where your world was small, now with a service dog, you're breaking barriers and you're starting to live life and make memories and be that person you want to be. But now they have to go out there and deal with all that.
Yeah.
And I tell our veterans, there is no perfect answer, but we teach them how to handle that. We teach them how to, in a way of dignity and strength and character, how to handle the public, how to handle businesses, how to protect themselves, advocate for themselves, but also keep moving forward even with these obstacles.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
Well, it is, and it goes back to what I was saying to you a moment ago about the resilience, right? Like it requires a lot of resilience because it's easy to just give up and say it's not worth it, or
Yeah.
it's too many people to try to bring
Yeah.
along. But what you're doing is so impactful for our veterans, but also for the dogs that you're saving, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're seeing this, and I don't want to make this about the dogs, but during COVID, a lot of people got dogs because they were home and could care for them, and now you see this influx in different shelters and stuff because they couldn't take care of them or they didn't train them properly. To your point. So Shannon, what plans do you have at really trying to scale this transformation and even expanding the education and the visibility, because I heard you say that a couple of times, right? Like so much is invisible, and how do we make that more visible for the average person?
Well, one of the things is, the podcast like yours, Vicky's. I'm so grateful because we need to have platforms like this where we can speak to the issues, to the dynamic, to what's happening out there, to bring education, to bring awareness, and so free Americans who also want to be a part of it can. And so for us at Northwest Battle Bays, we are looking to just continue to do what we're doing and more. When people say, "What is your plan for the future?" More. Faster. We have 90 veterans on our waiting list. We have 90.
Wow.
And with a suicide rate of 22 a day, we are Northwest Battle Base is one of the largest service dog providers for veterans with PTSD in the United States. We're not the largest, but we're one of the largest. We provide, up to 35 to 45 dogs a year, and which that may not sound like a lot, but at $25,000 a dog and the amount of work, absolutely
Yeah.
it is, with the size of our team. But it's all about elevating our profile, bringing education, perfecting our craft, perfecting our messaging, and finding platforms that will listen to gain influence so we can make a difference, not only you know, with donors, you know, for our veterans to get the word out there that there is hope out there. There is an organization like ours that isn't going to let them down, but to also, you know, on the level of, you know, when we're talking to our congressmen and the bills and how
Yes.
service dogs are perceived and how can we support them in that way. And so there's so many levels and there's so many layers that are all equally important, but we take it a day at a time. We are more driven now than we were. And I can speak for myself personally. I have an amazing team. I cannot do this without my team. My team is all equally as dedicated as I am. And we continue to build our team because we need more people that are perfected in their craft to serve our veterans if we want to increase our numbers. But we are more driven today than we were the day I started this because we see more, we've experienced more, and the need has not gotten less, it's gotten greater. We had a greater influx of applications this year than we've had double the applications this year than any year. That is double the veterans that are looking for help. So it's so what's next on the horizon? More of everything, faster, better, and yeah.
Well, and that's a tall order, right?
Yes.
I'm, you know, as you're talking, Shannon, where my head goes to, because yes, donors are, and funding is critical to help you go faster, better, bigger, right? And finding ways to engage people who, you know, want to sponsor a veteran. If you've got 90 people on a wait list to get in, like, would it not be amazing if you could find, you know, 40 donors that would sponsor a veteran, and that
Yeah.
journey from start to finish is right?
Yeah, that would be a great day.
Yeah. And I mean, the need is I'm assuming that just based on what you were sharing about Kevin, the young man you started with, you know, as people find this hope, then they're going to share with more people. And so, you know, that becomes, how do you get this, you know, across nationally? Or even, you know, I don't know, grants from the government to, you know, is this one way we can help veterans to, you know, reintegrate into, you know, everyday life versus being tormented by what they've had to see and do and encounter.
Absolutely. You know, one thing that I think is a really important point for your viewers to know, Vicky, is number one, we haven't lost one veteran to suicide that we have gifted a dog to. Number one. Number two, a lot of our veterans, they might be on. We had one veteran that was on 23 medications a day. 23
Wow.
just to be able to get through his broken day. After being paired with his service dog with the supervision of his medical care provider, he's down to one med a day. And one of the greatest, and that's across the board. It is so common for our veterans to become medication free after receiving a service dog. Our service dogs are stopping panic attacks. They are waking our veterans up from nightmares. They are helping our veterans break barriers and go places they would have never gone before. Our veterans are engaging with their family. They're engaging with the community and being a blessing and finding purpose in their newfound life with a service dog, because it is an amazing tool. These service dogs are a tool no different than a walker or a wheelchair or whatever to serve their disability and to help mitigate those symptoms. And you can't put a price tag on that, but unfortunately there's a price tag on the dogs, you know.
Yeah, well, of course, and what they're gaining from it is priceless, right? Like
Absolutely.
being able to um, fully engage
Yeah.
and doing it in a way where you feel safe and welcomed. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
when you were talking about even walking into a store, like
Mhm.
that's a tough, like always feeling like you're on show or
Yeah.
people are judging you. That's a tough, you know, aspect to overcome. And so what I've heard as you've been sharing this today is that it's not just you're providing hope. You're helping them find that resilience and that courage to continue on. And how do they then help each other, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that becomes such a critical aspect of integrating back into day-to-day living and thriving, not just existing.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and the thing is that the service dog actually, you know, it is a tool, and our veterans learn how to use the dog throughout. Because just because, you know, they're like, as an example, panic attacks, hypervigilance keeps them home, keeps their world small. But we teach them how to use the tool. while they go out in public, and now they're going to experience a panic attack. How do you use the tool to mitigate the symptoms of, to mitigate, that panic, that adrenaline, calm your body, use the dog, ground yourself, grounding techniques, social barrier, the different things. So then they can compose themselves and then move forward and continue on without going into flight, without just saying, I'm not going to do it. I mean, that's just such a small example, but it is so profound to our veterans. And you just mentioned it, Vicki, one of the biggest obstacles is now they are seen. They wanted to go get milk and they wanted to get out and they didn't want anybody to bother them. And now they've got this beautiful dog with them and everybody wants to talk to them about it. Everybody wants to pet the dog and all eyes are on them. And we teach our veterans, they're looking at the dog. They're not looking at you. Yeah. But they feel like they're walking through the store naked. Yeah. But the courage that they have for a better life helps them overcome all that. Yeah. Where pretty soon that just becomes on the sideline and they just go and it's incredible.
Well, and that's so important what you just said, because it gives them a focus, right? It's about the dog and people aren't judging necessarily and how to navigate that. But you're right, it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Shannon, we've covered a lot here today, and what would be your call to action? And before you even go there, I'll give you a second to think about that. Because we do have listeners calling in from 48 different countries. This is not just specific to the U.S. There is military all across the world. There are veterans all across the world. And so, even, what I would challenge our audience to do is think about, how do you give back? How do you find ways to support? Find ways to, find that passion or that purpose to serve and to help others. So I'll say that, but let's go back to Shannon. What would be a call to action that when you're talking to our audience here, what do you think would benefit the most?
Yeah. So, as a call to action to anybody in life, and then I'm going to dial it down to Northwest Battle Base, I don't think there's any greater gift than to do something that is selfless. Everybody has gifts and talents that they can bring to help another human being. I'm a Christian and I was raised in a Christian home. And, the greatest commandment is love the Lord God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And so when we're helping our veterans, we are loving our neighbor as ourselves. Yeah. It's not why I started it, but that's the foundation of who I am. And as Americans, as human beings across the world, we can always bring value and do something to gift another human being with what we've been gifted with. Now, Northwest Battle Buddies, a call to action would be is first of all, if you're a veteran, thank you for your service. You're not alone. There are organizations that will not let you down, and Northwest Battle Buddies is one of them. When you have one of our service dogs, you're now part of our family and our community, and we don't quit. So we don't want you to quit either. So please reach out to northwestbattlebuddies.org and get help. Get more information, find out if a service dog would be for you. If you are a free American and you want to give back to the men and women who have provided that freedom, please support our organization. We need donors. We have a monthly giving program, Operation Never Quit, that, is so easy. It's monthly, but you get newsletters, you get stories, and you get updates on the amazing work that our service dogs are doing for our veterans and the Northwest Battle Base team. And if you can support a dog, if you can support a team, we need your help. We have 90 veterans that are looking for help. They're reaching out for help. They're trying to save their own life, and we need your help. So donating to Northwest Battle Base would be amazing. Third-party fundraisers. There's so many ways to give back, and we can't do it by ourselves. And one of the members of my team, he says, it's we the people. It is our responsibility to take care of our veterans. It's our responsibility to say thank you in the way that we can, and every human being can, one way or another.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. That's very powerful. Shannon, thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing. Like, incredible. Like, so selfless. And I feel your passion for, supporting our veterans, really helping them find that purpose to live, and also for taking care of the dogs, making sure they have purpose to live. So you're helping two beings come together. So thank you for that. And if you missed that, it's northwestbattlebuddies.org. That's how you can find Shannon, and that's also how you can donate. Please share this episode with your contacts. The more that we share the word and the need, the more that we can actually make a difference and help our veterans and the dogs that need a new home and need that purpose. So Shannon, thank you so much for being here. I'm super grateful to you. And please keep that fight up, keep that passion going.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, no worries there. It's we got it. So thank you so much, Vicki, for the opportunity to share our mission and our mission in action. Thank you.
Well, we're grateful to you, so thank you. And our audience, thank you so much for being here today. If you're curious about how you're showing up as a leader in the world and you want to learn a little bit more, visit wilempowered, that's 1L, and take our free leadership quiz. It'll give you some insight as to how you're showing up as a leader. And I think you'll enjoy what learnings you come out of that. So we hope to see you again on our next Will Talk podcast. Take care, everyone, and have a fabulous, fabulous day.